Namaskar and welcome to another 9 p.m. live. Now, today's live is going to be different, so let's get right into the show. The reason why I said today's live is going to be different is because today my expert is Shubham and he's my colleague. And the reason why I thought I will invite him is because normally in my show, I try and get people who are well invested in a subject that we are talking about. And Shubham, and in fact, even Akanksha was supposed to join us, another colleague of mine, they are well invested in this show is because they have been following every word that was happening in the parliament. So basically, I wanted to know from them what the reaction was, how did the opposition react, how did Rahul Gandhi react, how did Narendra Modi reacted, and all of that. Acha, what am I talking about? I am talking about Rahul Gandhi's speech and Mr. Narendra Modi's speech. These are two speeches I'm going to talk about today. Now, mind you, I'm going to do an editorial on this. So we'll do more research and clear and analysis and all. We'll do that. That we'll do tomorrow. But as on today, let's just take what they spoke. Let's just discuss on what they spoke. Like I said, Shubham will join us very soon. Let's discuss on what they spoke and let's figure out what is all of this heading to. Okay. Let me start with what I had said earlier on. See, I told you that possibly this is the first time that we are seeing Rahul Gandhi take up, not possibly, it is the first time that we are seeing Rahul Gandhi take up a job which is a constitutional responsibility. Constitutional responsibility, when I say, like I said before, I repeat myself, constitutional responsibility, this is the first time he's taking up a major job in India. He is the leader of opposition. Leader of opposition means he is the shadow prime minister. Mind you, he is also supposed to have a shadow cabinet. He is the person who is supposed to give alternative ideas. He is supposed to be the person who questions the prime minister and say, "Bhai, kya ho raha hai?" So this is the job that he is doing, which is a very, very important job. And if you see my editorial a couple of days back, I had spoken to you about the kind of people who have become leader of opposition in India. Most of them went on to become the prime minister, including Atal Bihari Vajpayee, P.V. Narasimha Rao, etc., Rajiv Gandhi, etc. So these people went on to be the prime minister of India. Now, let me take those few minutes before Shubham joins us. You see, we need to understand that a leader of opposition for Rahul Gandhi actually makes him the prime minister in waiting. What I mean by that is, chances are, you see, there will be a huge image change for Rahul Gandhi if he comes through, and he comes through strongly as this leader of opposition. If he does a fantastic job of being a leader of opposition, you will soon see that Rahul Gandhi may be seen as the next alternative for the prime minister. That's number one. Number two is Rahul Gandhi. It's actually a risky business. It's actually a risky business. A lot of senior leaders also told me privately and in our channel. I'm in front of you all when they came to our channel. A lot of senior Congress leaders have also spoken about why is it so dangerous for Rahul Gandhi? Because if Rahul Gandhi doesn't perform as the leader of opposition, that's kaput. That's finished. That's possibly a very bad ending for Rahul Gandhi's career. Because if he doesn't do well, by the looks of it, first day, first ball, he played fantastic. He played it very, very well. So yesterday was a fantastic day for him. He started his innings brilliantly. Now the point is, if Rahul Gandhi grows, Narendra Modi shrinks. If Narendra Modi grows, Rahul Gandhi shrinks. So it's a ping pong match. It's like a table tennis match. It's going to go ping pong, and the person who drops the ball drops a point. The person who wins gets a point. So somewhere down the line, let's understand this very clearly. Every time Rahul Gandhi scores, every time Rahul Gandhi gives a brilliant speech like he did yesterday, every time he gives a brilliant speech, he scores a point. He scores a point. And that may not go too well for Narendra Modi leadership. Every time Rahul Gandhi scores a point, he may be not only winning hearts outside of the parliament, he may be winning support within the parliament. That is something that we need to understand. Because now it is no longer an opposition-less parliament, like what India was possibly till 2024. It is no longer opposition-less government. It is a government with a very powerful opposition. 234 is not a small number. So you have a government now with a very powerful opposition, and this opposition is going to talk. You're seeing it. This opposition is going to be together. And if Rahul Gandhi goes on performing 6 by 6, if Rahul Gandhi goes on hitting, what's going to happen is this opposition is going to stick by him. This opposition, you see, the winner always has a fantastic following. You follow a winner, don't you? So a lot of these people are going to follow him. Somewhere down the line, if he continues what he's doing currently, he will end up being an undisputed leader in that house. Ab kya hoga? This Tina factor that we have been talking about, there is no alternative factor. It will be gone. There will be an alternative and a clear alternative. Acha. A lot of people in my last editorial asked me, how do you say Tina factor will not be there? Just because you speak well and all, Tina factor will go? Yes, it will. Like I said before, I repeat, a leader of opposition is a shadow prime minister. So Rahul Gandhi's job is not just to kind of criticize the prime minister and the government. That is not his job alone. His job would also be giving alternatives, giving alternative solutions, going around telling the country as to what else can the government do, or what more can the government do, or how different this government can be, or how different government policies can be. Now, if people buy it, people find that Rahul Gandhi's alternatives are better than possibly the government's current policies, here you are. Rahul Gandhi transforms from a charismatic leader to an alternative prime minister. I hope I made my point clear. I hope I've been able to make my point clear. That's where I said that he will be an alternative prime minister. Shubham, I will take you online in 2 seconds. Shubham is here, but I can't see him for some odd reason. Shubham, I can't see you, so I'm taking him off stage again. So okay, he'll join us. In the meantime, let me continue. So that's how he'll be an alternative to prime minister. That's how people will see him as an alternative prime minister. Now he has a chance to prove that he is not just about a good guy, a person who can touch your heart, a person who is kind of brilliant with people, brilliant with masses. In Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, he showed how beautifully he could interact with the huge crowd. He showed that. Now he will show how intelligent he is. Now he will show how his policies, how the counter policies, or how alternative policies that he can present in the parliament could be seen as very effective. So that's an opportunity he has, and that's a big opportunity. Let me tell you, that's a very big opportunity for him, and that's why I said Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, or whatever, Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra. Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra, sorry, I'm saying Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, I'm so sorry. It is Bharat Jodo Yatra, and Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra proved to us and elevated Rahul Gandhi from the Pappu image that was created for him. A Pappu image that was created for him. And this particular LOP status, the leader of opposition status, this particular status is going to ensure that it will create an image of an alternative prime minister for Rahul Gandhi. All this proviso, Rahul Gandhi performs. Yesterday, first ball, first show, fantastic. Hit. Absolutely hit. Now let us talk about Narendra Modi. You see, Narendra Modi has been in that chair for last 10 years. So he's very seasoned. Okay, he is very clear about the chair. He is very clear about how to run the show. He's very clear about his machineries and everything. So he has that. See, his popularity must have come down. There is no doubt it has come down. So it is not must have and all that. Let me not be politically correct. It has come down. His popularity must have come down. But that said, one cannot ever say that he is not popular. He is very, very popular. He is very popular. So the fact remains that you have a seasoned prime minister sitting in the chair. Oh, this looks actually like a cricket commentary, doesn't it? It actually looks like a cricket commentary. So anyway, let me continue. Shubham, you are here, and I am actually giving a cricket commentary. So
yes.
Yeah, I was just.
I hope I'm audible. I'm visible.
You're visible. You're very visible, and you're quite audible too. So before I hand the mic over to you, Shubham, I was just talking to our audience and telling them. I spoke about Rahul Gandhi. Now I was talking about Mr. Narendra Modi and why PM Narendra Modi is also a formidable opponent. See, the fact remains that he is seasoned. He knows what he is doing. He's got 10 years of experience as Prime Minister. He's got 20 years of experience as Chief Minister, 20 plus years of experience as Chief Minister. So he's got fantastic administrative experience behind him. Number one. Number two, he's a staunch leader. He is a very strong leader. He's a leader of men. He can kind of go any length to lead, and quite authoritative too. He's quite an authoritarian kind of a leader. So yeah, I mean, be that too. This is where it stands. So two leaders, amne samne, and this time around, what really happens is it will be face off between Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. Absolute face off. The questions that Rahul Gandhi asks and the answers that Narendra Modi gives. And if Narendra Modi gives better answers, like I told you before, if Narendra Modi gives better answers to the questions that Mr. Rahul Gandhi asks, Narendra Modi wins, he scores. But if he can't, if he is not as impressive as Rahul Gandhi on the floor of the house, one has to be very clear that there is problems for Narendra Modi. And this problem may not be manifested 5 years from today. This problem may start getting manifested in the next 6 months, 7 months, 1 year. That's where it stands. Because end of the day, MPs are with people. MPs are with the leader who people are with. So if the people back Rahul Gandhi, the MPs have no choice but to back Rahul Gandhi. If people back Rahul Gandhi, his MPs who are currently sitting behind him in the treasury bench, in the opposition side, I'm sorry, the MPs who are sitting with him in the opposition space, those guys will not want to leave him. Because if they leave him, people will leave him. People will leave those MPs. So this is the equation. Chalo, this is what I wanted to say, Shubham. I'm sorry I have kept you waiting. Shubham, how was? Give me your expert. I was just telling my audience that we normally get people who have invested in the subject, and you and Akanksha. Unfortunately, Akanksha couldn't join us. You and Akanksha have actually invested in this subject. You have been sitting in front of television. You have been sitting in front of all possible media and listening to each and every word that these leaders said. So, Shubham, tell me, let's talk about Rahul Gandhi's speech first, and then we will talk about today's Narendra Modi speech. How did you think Rahul Gandhi's speech? Your first reaction, then I will go subject by subject. Your first reaction.
Sure. First of all, good evening, Sujit. Good evening to our viewers. Sorry to have kept you waiting for the first 10 to 15 minutes.
Hello, I was there entertaining. What's wrong with you?
Of course. Like you said, I joined when you talked about cricket commentary. So on cue.
Yeah. Correct.
So okay, let's start with Rahul Gandhi first. One thing since the 4th of June that was closely looked at first, whether it will be Wayanad, Raebareli, that was sorted out. Then it came to, will Rahul bite the LOP bullet? Will he become the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha? That happened, and Rahul Gandhi did become the leader of the opposition in Lok Sabha. Sujit has in fact talked about the pros and cons, what are the opportunities, almost like a SWOT analysis of what Rahul as LOP means, not just for the Congress, but the India alliance at large. Now coming back to what we saw yesterday, in fact, Rahul Gandhi's speech, his first full-fledged speech as leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha came during the motion of thanks following President Draupadi Murmu's address. He's made a host of issues, and one thing that really stands out in that speech, Sujit, if you look at the parliamentary proceeding, it was a long speech, almost 2 hours, 1.5, 2 hours is what you looked at in terms of how much he spoke. And you could realize that the opposition is sort of really rallying behind him. You could see the issues that Rahul Gandhi took up. You could see the way he attacked the Prime Minister, the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the NDA allies that are there, and the composition that we are seeing. So very, very impressive start, one should say, by Rahul Gandhi as leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, particularly the points he made with the support he had at the back end of his allies, and the way he was able to address certain issues head on, and that confidence, that body language was really visible, not just of Rahul Gandhi, but almost of all India Alliance leaders since the time this monsoon session, my apologies, this special session of Parliament has been convened. So one thing that really strikes out is the body language, the confidence in which these issues were put up. In fact, one striking moment for me particularly was when Mr. Gandhi made some controversial remarks, and during his speech, you could see Home Minister Amit Shah getting up off his chair and telling the speaker that, look, boss, you're not being fair to us, and you're favoring the opposition. He was addressing Om Birla while Rahul Gandhi was still speaking. So that was one very striking moment. The Prime Minister, if I'm not wrong, got up twice from his chair while Mr. Gandhi was speaking on certain issues and raised his objection to that. That is something that we haven't seen in 10 years. We've seen...
I to that extent, I thought, I'm sorry, I'm spoiling your trail of thoughts, but I just wanted to interrupt here. You see, the fact that Prime Minister got up from his seat to kind of answer, or to kind of interject, or to kind of, give a rhetoric to what Rahul Gandhi was saying, itself showed that the Prime Minister was perturbed in a form. He was perturbed yesterday, and that was showing in his face. In a way, that gave Rahul Gandhi more confidence. If you actually see, and I wish I could show you, which I'll try and do it in our editorial, if you see Rahul Gandhi's face at that point in time, right when the Prime Minister got up to kind of answer back or give his rhetoric or whatever to Rahul Gandhi's confidence grew. So in a way, that was actually a good thing which happened. And I was kind of surprised as to strategically why the Prime Minister would do that. Wasn't it strategically wrong from a communication perspective for the Prime Minister to react at that point in time? So I thought that was a thing. Sorry, Shubham,
absolutely, Sujit, a very pertinent point you've made here, because since the time Rahul Gandhi has made his speech and the kind of comments that he has made in that duration, social media has almost exploded with certain critical moments, like the one you mentioned, the fact that he looked perturbed, the fact that the Prime Minister of this country, particularly if you compare it, you juxtapose it to what we've seen in the last 10 years. I cannot think of a moment in the last 10 years, and Sujit, correct me if I'm wrong, where an opposition leader is speaking and there you have the Prime Minister getting up from his chair, taking objections. So that was really interesting to watch. And in fact, the confidence bit that you mentioned, you could see in the way he delivered his speech. One thing that has been associated with Mr. Gandhi, especially in the last 10, 15 years, has been the pappufication. If I'm quoting Mr. Sanjay Jha correctly, who had told me this while we spoke to him on 9 p.m. Live, he was mocked for his delivery, for what he spoke, and some would say rightly so. If you compare him to Mr. Modi, the oratory charm that is there, Mr. Modi still holds the aces on that front. But what we saw in Lok Sabha yesterday, you could see Rahul Gandhi speaking not just as just another MP, as he was in the last 10 years, but as somebody who is the leader of the opposition, an opposition that does not have less than 100 seats, an India alliance that has over 200 seats in Parliament, 234, 235 is where the India alliance stands. Yes, absolutely. And the Congress is at 99. Extremely different than what you saw in the past decade. Now, the reason why I'm referring to the past decade is because post 2014, the functioning of parliament itself has come under heavy scrutiny. The way in which laws have been bulldozed, the fact that opposition has not been taken into consideration. You have some critical bills, including the new criminal laws that were passed when 140 MPs of the parliament were suspended. 3 criminal laws that were to be replaced. And now what you see post the 4th of June is a completely different picture. Having said that, Sujit, I'm hoping we'll come to that point as well in the course of this conversation, is the interruptions that we saw, the sloganeering that we saw more so today than yesterday. Yesterday, what you saw was almost like a show of strength of not just Rahul Gandhi, but also some of the other opposition leaders, like the likes of Mahua Moitra, who, of course, is a very good orator. But what we saw in Parliament, we've published for our audience, we've published some of these videos on our channel. You can take a look. These are lengthy speeches that these leaders have made. So that really stood out in a way in terms of Rahul Gandhi and his speech were concerned, Sujit.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk with the thought of the idea of India that he spoke about. I think that was a very interesting factor. What he said, he showed those placards and he showed those. While the speaker was trying to kind of stop him, but he still showed Lord Shiva. He still showed those placards beautifully. As a communications person, let me tell you, Shubham, I thought he laid his premises beautifully, because good communication is built on premises. Good communication is built when you have a very robust foundation to what you're going to say. He built that robust foundation brilliantly. I think that's the first thing that we should appreciate. And then he spoke about Hinduism. Now, Hinduism also, speaking about Hinduism, is also very interesting, Shubham, the way I saw it. The reason I say speaking about Hinduism was very interesting is because Hinduism is supposed to be the forte of the Bharatiya Janata Party. You see, Bharatiya Janata Party owns this space of Hinduism. At least they tried to own the space of Hinduism. Now, the point is, he spoke on Hinduism and he based his premises on Hinduism. If you notice, he based his premises of non-violence on Hinduism. He based his premises on not being scared on Hinduism. He based his premises of the entire speech on Hinduism. So he based his premises on the strength of his opposition. Strategically, I think from a communication point of view, it was fantastic. That's the first thing I would say. Shubham, your views?
Sujit, I think that's, of course, from a communication perspective, to go after something that your rival is sort of known to be a master at. Of course, Hinduism, Hindutva, this is a turf that the BJP knows best. It knows this like the back of their mind, back of their hand. But Sujit, wouldn't you agree that this could be a tricky territory to operate in? While you are weighing in on certain matters, like in fact the Hinduism remark that he made during his speech, Home Minister Amit Shah said that he wants he demanded an apology from Mr. Rahul Gandhi over his remarks. Now, wouldn't you agree, Sujit, that this is a double-edged sword? While the premise is something that was laid extremely clear, I think before the Hinduism part and the idea of India, I think that would really be the premise and the constitution, which has not been just something that they have picked up now in this session of parliament, but a recurring theme as far as their election campaign in the last 2 months was concerned. So while the idea of India, like you said, was a very firm footing on which the opposition was to start their attack on the government, wouldn't you agree that the fact that when you talk to or you slam the BJP, where you criticize the BJP over Hinduism, or when you get into that space, like the Shakti remark that Mr. Gandhi made when he was in Mumbai a couple of months back, don't you think that's a tricky territory to operate in?
Let me tell you, he just didn't speak about Hinduism alone. He spoke about Prophet Muhammad. He spoke about Christianity. He spoke about Sikhism. He spoke about Buddhism. He spoke about all religion. What he said is he put up premises. See, I thought, as a communications person, again, I speak as a professional here. I'm reiterating the fact as communication person is because I was just looking at the way he must have thought through his speech. You see, what he was trying to do is he was trying to build his premises. He started with Hinduism because that was the opposition's forte. That was the opposition's core competency. That was the opposition's proposition. It was their brand offer, technically, if you go to see, because they associate, BJP associates most with Hinduism. And then from there on, he took off. He spoke about Islam, he spoke about Prophet Muhammad, he spoke about Christianity, he spoke about all religion. The point is, he made his point clear. He spoke about the fact that no religion teaches you to be afraid. You develop courage. Religion teaches you to develop courage. Religion teaches you to be non-violent. Religion teaches you to be peaceful. So these are the two things he mentioned, and he connected that to the idea of India. I think that was very fair, Shubham. My opinion.
Right. In fact, just for our audience, the one line that really sparked a furor in Parliament was, and I'm quoting Mr. Gandhi here. He said, "Those who call themselves Hindu only talk about violence." It was following this statement that you saw a furor in the House. And in fact, this was the moment when Prime Minister Modi stood up and said that this is, this was an insult to the Hindu community. This is something that shouldn't be tolerated. And Rahul Gandhi got back at him immediately, and he pointed out, he sort of clarified on his statement that it's not the community that he was referring to, but the party in a way that is espousing the cause of Hindu nationalism and the territory in which the Bharatiya Janata Party operates. So that is it began on a stormy note straight away. There were no, in cricket terms, there were no trial balls. There was no just watching the ball for a couple of deliveries.
My apologies. I want to just intervene and answer a question. A gentleman called Kumar, he recommends, he writes, people celebrating Rahul's speech should also notice that he also gave up on job creation and economy, meaning people are now alone against inflation and drying up economy. Now that's I think that's being very unfair. I'll tell you why. There are three reasons that for it being unfair. Because somewhere down the line, I don't think a lot of us made this comment when, in the elections, leaders from different parties, I don't want to mention names, leaders from different parties were talking about buffaloes and Mangal Sutras. I don't think people spoke much about it, number one. Number two is, no, it is not that I think he didn't speak about it. Yesterday's context was, he was putting his premises up. Yesterday's context was different. I'm sure he will be talking about inflation. I'm sure as an opposition leader, he will be talking about unemployment. As an opposition leader, he will be talking about need. As our opposition leader, he'll be talking about a lot of issues. Yesterday's particular speech was setting up his premises. Now, if you are expecting that every speech a person makes will be about unemployment, inflation, that I think is unfair to expect. And that I think is nitpicking. And I don't think that would be justified. That's what I would answer, Kumar. I'm sure he may not agree to me, but this is the fact. That being said, going further, very interestingly, Shubham, he spoke about who has the button of the mic. He asked that to the speaker. What's your opinion on that?
This is not the first time that this question has come up, especially under the tenure of Speaker Om Birla. This in fact happened a couple of days ago, a couple of days before Rahul Gandhi made that speech yesterday, where he was speaking and he said that I want a discussion on NEET. If I'm not mistaken, he raised up that issue, and midway through it was captured live on Sansad TV. We were live with that. We published that particular segment. While Mr. Gandhi was speaking, his mic was cut off abruptly. And that really led to a furor, and which is why you could see that Mr. Gandhi raised that question. While the speaker said that, look, this is not in my hands, and this is, he clarified that the mic has never been muted. The opposition is always, in fact, there are some of the other leaders as well whose speech I heard in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and they began with the disclaimer saying that, Mr. Speaker, we hope that our mics won't be muted while we make points. So this has happened. I've seen. In fact, today itself, I saw a couple of MPs in the Rajya Sabha, first-time MPs who made their speeches. Said they began with the fact that, okay, thank you so much for giving me the time, but I hope I'll not be interjected. So that was a very interesting point to rake up, because, mind you, the last 10 years, the opposition has been extremely few in number. You look at the composition of the Lok Sabha, 543 MPs, 350 belong to one. That is what you saw in 2019. The 17th Lok Sabha, that is what you saw. So
Correct.
while this is not just about the mic, literally, it's also about the fact that the opposition says that our voice wasn't heard to begin with.
Correct. I think it was very suggestive. What we are talking about is, are you suppressing my voice? I think that was the suggestion. And of course, the speaker made it clear that he doesn't have any device to switch off anybody's mic or not. I have never sat there. I don't know whether he has or not. But the fact is, let us go by what the speaker said. And that is where it stands. Now, Kumar has said, I said so, sir, because he said backbone is broken. Kumar, I am not at all questioning what you said. You have the right to question. This is a channel which will entertain all the questions, whether you're for or against. And believe us, we welcome questions that you feel otherwise. We welcome that question. So our point of view was not that. Our point of view was, every speech does not cover every subject. There are certain speech, there are certain narratives, there are certain addresses that addresses a particular topic, isn't it? And there are certain speech, certain time when it talks about different topics. So that's the reason why I said that. And all these issues are not just fly-by-night issues. These are issues that needs to be deliberated. These are issues that needs to be spoken about. These are issues that needs to be, a whole day of the parliament should be spent on, or maybe more, on unemployment, on inflation. A whole day or more should be spent on that. That's all we are saying, Kumar. We are not saying what you asked was incorrect, or we do not agree to what you said. What you said is right, but we are just saying that it requires time. But there's one more thing. Shubham, there's another gentleman called A.R. Pawar. He has been constantly trying to get the attention. He's been constantly writing. He says, who is this Shubham, and what are his credentials to talk about Modi ji? If I can answer it. Pawar Sahab, the answer is very clear. That listen, first of all, he didn't speak about Modi ji, by the way. We didn't even start Modi ji. So that's going to
We'll come to Modi ji. We'll come to the Modi ji later.
We'll come to Modi ji. So we have not yet started. Number one. Number two. See, to speak about a prime minister, you really don't need a credential. Okay, nobody asks you for your certificate when you go to vote. Neither did we ask the prime minister certificate when he became the prime minister. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of open. So even you can.
And my credentials, Sujit, my credential, I work for HW News. I'm senior correspondent. That is my credential, which is why I am here. And like Sujit said right at the outset, we've been following the parliament very closely in terms of the speeches that have been made. So to answer that, who is Shubham, I would just say he's someone who works at HW News. And I think the second half, Sujit, you've already answered. So we'll keep it at that.
Okay. Now let's go. Let's go one step ahead. Let's talk about, Modi ji's speech. Let's talk about today's speech. How do you think?
So one point before we come back, before we come to Modi ji and Mr. Pawar then picks out in the comment, he made another interesting point where he said that when yes, this is where it is. In his speech in the Lok Sabha, he talked about how Prime Minister Narendra Modi does not greet him or smile at him in the house. He said, "This morning Rajnath Singh greeted me when he saw me, but when he saw Mr. Modi was around, he stopped." So and he said this in his speech, and I quoted him verbatim here. I think, Sujit, one major takeaway that lies in this statement, and the reason why before we go on to Modi ji, I want to make that point, that it almost seems extremely clear that the relationship between the treasury benches and the opposition benches is going to be acrimonious. My initial thoughts of the fact of whatever little we have seen, of course, the ho halla, the shor sharaba, all of that will be there. It was there earlier. Now it is just louder because there are more opposition MPs. and there are more checks and balances as far as the mandate that was given to the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA was concerned. But the larger point is this: the relation that one expects, one hopes. This is something that Sujit has talked about in his videos. I have spoken about it on my show, Simply Put, where I've talked about it. Listen, each member of parliament sitting there is a representative of people from different parts of the country. Each
Tens and lakhs of
voice
people.
needs absolutely lakhs and lakhs of people. Each voice is as important as the other. Um, the interruptions, the scenarios that we saw of leaders jumping into the well, the speakers well, not of course the speakers well, where opposition leaders made the disruptions, the suspensions that we saw, record suspensions that we saw last time, doesn't really help the cause. One would have thought, and I thought that for a second, because this mandate wasn't as convincing as the Bharatiya Janata Party would have liked. Almost like the figures that we had at the end of 4th June, and Sujit, you and I were there for 12 and a half hours that day, covering the results from scratch. One thing that was really clear to me
and
was
it was
that
just the both of us, except for one or two guests. Just the both of us.
We were for 12 hours straight. Yes. So, that what really stood out to me at the end of the day when I looked at the numbers, that look, it's almost the Indian voter telling both sides, first the ruling party, that look, while we like you to a certain extent, we do not like you that much, where we tried giving you more than what the majority mark is. We gave you a very convincing, a very thumping majority, but down from 303 down to 240 is almost the Indian voter saying that, hello, there needs to be a certain set of checks and balances. You need to take people together. That's when the Nitish Kumar of Bihar and Chandrababu Naidu of Andhra Pradesh come in. Not just that, but also the opposition, because the opposition is at 234, again, almost way much more than what they got in 2019, where the Indian voter is almost telling the opposition benches that, look, we sort of believe in the idea that you're pitching, but not as much. There's the fact that we'll give you 272. Take 240. We'll see what you can do with this. And for the ruling party, the message is this: that take these 234 MPs with you. You cannot have a parliament running haywire where it's just where laws are being bulldozed. So I think that was the larger message, and that is something that Mr. Gandhi pointed out. This acrimony between the treasury benches and the opposition benches, which one expected, one hoped rather, that it'll subside. You will see a more accommodative approach between the two sides.
You are hoping too much. That was definitely not.
I think and now in retrospect it feels too much, but it doesn't look like. For starters, the initial impressions are clear that this is how it is going to be. It's going to be bitter, it's going to be acrimonious, and it's going to be really, really heated. Yes, Sujit.
That's a very valid point. There is a very interesting view by one of our viewers. Gentlemen, I would love, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I would love if you could put your name end of your, because the name is SM, so I don't know what's your real name. If you could put your name end, so we could call you out, and because it's a beautiful question. What he says is, or beautiful point he raised, he or she raised this point saying that I am of the view that RG set the narrative to which PM responded. Instead of addressing key issues, PM was hell-bent to counter Rahul Gandhi. What are your views? Oh, I 100% agree to you. I 100% agree to you. You see, what happens when you have such powerful speeches in the parliament, and this could happen even vice versa. See, please, guys, we're talking about Rahul Gandhi today, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not that Mr. Narendra Modi hasn't spoken well. So it's both ways. But you see, what happens when you have very, very powerful speech, Satish? Yes, Satish is your name. Great. So you know what happens, Satish, when you have very powerful speech, you tend to completely sway the conversation onto that speech, and that's an art of being a parliamentarian. There's an art of being a parliamentarian. So therefore, one says that yesterday's Rahul Gandhi's speech was good. So if you are a good speaker, if you are a fantastic speaker, like I remember Manoj Jha, remember that speech of Manoj Jha, Shubham? I don't know if you guys remember that 2 years back.
That was in the Rajya Sabha. Yes. In the Rajya Sabha.
And I had an interview right after that particular speech with him. the way he swayed not only the house but the entire country. So that's the power that you have when you are in that position, when you stand there and you speak. So yes, that was your point of view. Satish was absolutely correct. We agree to every word what you said, and yeah, you're perfect.
I think
What
the
you said,
perfect segue to move on to Mr. Modi's remarks today. I think the perfect way
absolutely,
to
absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
Uh, I,
So
yes.
so
So you
yeah,
wanted to say
so
something?
yes, let's talk. Let's now get into Mr. Narendra Modi's speech. I think we spoke enough of Mr. Rahul Gandhi's speech. Unless and until our viewers want any specific questions to be answered, let's get into Mr. Narendra Modi's speech. And he started his speech with, I think the first thing he said is he lauds decorum maintained by the first-time MPs. He said he spoke about decorum. Now, what's your view on that, Shubham?
Ironically, when he began his speech, you could hear the opposition yelling on top of their voices, and it almost got to a point where you couldn't hear the prime minister. The moment he began on a really, I would say, a patchy note, and while the prime minister has been really credited for his oratory skills and sort of managing the audience in previous occasions when he has spoken, opposition after a little bit of sloganeering, they've walked out. And the fact that when about 100 people walked out, then it's almost like you're having this conversation in your living room. So, but today the scenario was very different. The moment he began his speech, he got a 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m. He was when he was supposed to start about that time, and he spoke as well for almost a good 2 hours straight. And he tackled a range of issues. We'll come to one by one, but he began on a really patchy note. And the fact that when he was speaking about decorum, to have 234 MPs yelling, shouting, raising slogans on NEET, on Manipur, really
But to be
said
fair to
something.
but to be fair to the prime minister, he was talking about decorum of people who kept quiet. He was talking about decorum of new MPs who didn't
Absolutely.
shout, who didn't howl much. So he was not really talking about the opposition leaders who spoke, who shouted, who howled.
Absolutely. So I think that was yeah.
Sorry, please.
So I think that is so sort of just to get the warm up going when you want to get into the groove, because if you and we've made these notes of his speeches and what he said, you realize that it was almost like a new batter coming to the crease, just getting a feel of the pitch, getting a hang of the bowlers, and once that is in, like Sujit pointed out, the decorum of first time MPs, it's a very plain, simple, straight way to get into the
Correct.
groove, set the tone, establish your presence, the basic rules of communication, and when there's something that you make a speech, of course, the prime minister needn't be advised on that front, but nonetheless, that is what he started on amidst non-stop sloganeering from the opposition, Sujit.
And the next thing he spoke about was people chose NDA in a biggest election of the world. He said that I understand the pain of some opposition. Now, yeah, I want the viewers to hear this very carefully. This is what the prime minister said. The prime minister said that I understand the pain of some, that is opposition, that they have been defeated despite their best effort to spread lies. That people chose us for the third time is a matter of pride. Now, this is what he said. Now, I have one point to make here. By the way, Mr. Pawar says, Shubham, you are very objective and sensible. So thank you, Mr. Pawar. Thank
Thank
him,
you.
please. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
good. Okay. So with that note, you see, the point is, the prime minister says that they are proud that they won, that NDA won the elections despite of the opposition. Now, there's one point I want to make. NDA won the election. There's no doubt. But the fact is, NDA never fought the election, Shubham.
Absolutely.
Where did NDA fight the election? The election was fought by Modi's guarantee. It was fought by Modi's guarantee. What was told is, do not look at the face of the candidate. You vote for me. That is what was told. And that didn't happen, no. Nobody voted, no. Only 240 seats. So, NDA winning, and it was great pride. That pride factor I didn't understand. I understand that NDA won. I understand that NDA got 290 odd seats. I understand all of that. But what I do not understand is the that this fight was never NDA's. This fight was Mr. Narendra Modi, and it was Modi's guarantee. So that bit I didn't quite get. That's something that I would want to say here. Shubham, your views.
It's almost like the NDA, while it existed on paper for the last 10 years, post 4th June, NDA was almost like an afterthought that, okay, there's something that's called the National Democratic Alliance. We'll pick that up and okay, sorry, I'll come to Mr. Mayank's question in a bit, but yes, the opposition bit, it's like Sujit mentioned, from day one, it's been, Sujit, I wouldn't just say NDA, I would say there was even BJP in the picture. It was driven single-handedly by one man from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Modi's guarantee, and like you rightly pointed out, that the fact that do not vote for your local MP, each vote counts for Mr. Modi, and this is something that the Modi factor is something that they're heavily relying on. They have heavily relied on in the last 10 years. But you compare the results and the seats that the BJP has won this time. You understand that the Indian voter is way more sensible than one thinks. In fact, just after the results, I had Mr. Sandeep Shastri, is a noted political commentator, is part of the Lok Niti network, and this was that time the Lok Niti CSDS had published a series of studies in the Hindu, which are post-poll studies to understand what the voter thought after casting their vote. And if I'm not wrong, that was the state of Uttar Pradesh, where they talked about the percentage, the prime ministerial phase. Rahul Gandhi, if not better, he almost matched up to Prime Minister Modi, while Mr. Modi's overall approval ratings came down slightly, and he was way ahead of Rahul Gandhi. Make no mistake, I'm putting that right. He was way ahead of Rahul Gandhi in that. But you could see that there's a certain angst against the Indian voter, if not against Mr. Modi, but against the local MP. That it's the attitude was almost like, if I had to simplify it in our local language, the attitude was, "Theek hai, Mr. Modi, the BJP will get 400 par." 400 par was the slogan, right? So 400 par is something that will happen. So if one seat less, what's the big deal? I don't like my MP. I have a grouse against my MP. They are going to get, the party he belongs to will anyway get 400 par. So what's the big deal if this one MP of mine is defeated? Now, the problem is, if lakhs of people across constituencies start to think that way, that's if you're a Bharatiya Janata Party supporter, if you're the BJP, you would be really worried, and that is something that showed up. So while he says that yes, people have chosen us for a third term is a matter of pride and all of that, agreed. But the fact that you did not get the mandate you asked for, and the fact that now you have been, for the lack of a better phrase, cut down to size in more ways than one, not just arithmetically, but also in terms of checks and balances, does say something. So yes, he can say that opposition has been defeated and opposition is still, where they are. BJP is one. In fact, just to go back to 4th June, when the BJP tally, when we figured that the BJP tally will be in that 240, 245 range, there were a few seats here and there, but you largely figured that this is where the BJP will stand. The immediate reaction, there were two reactions that came out sort of from supporters of the BJP. One of them was that, look, the BJP is at 240, the India Alliance put together is at 234. So that was one card that they sort of make themselves feel better about. There's almost 60 seats, the decline in 60 seats. And the other, they said that NDA Sarkar, look, all said and done, we said we'll come back for a third time. No one except Mr. Nehru has done it. And here we have Mr. Modi, all said and done, even with NDA, even with two allies, even with some figures that are tricky here and there, Mr. Modi is still there. So on that front, you got to give it to them that, look, all said and done, Mr. Modi is still the Prime Minister. However, like Sujit pointed out, the major point is that this is what we saw is a reduced majority. So for him to say that have chosen us for a third term, interesting.
Well, I have a difference of opinion, Shubham. I have a difference of opinion on that narrative, which has been spoken about. I would like the audience to react to this. I would really like the audience to react to this, is because my point of view is different. Okay, the point of view that is generally spoken about, and they say that, listen, a lot of people didn't go out to vote because they believe that, my local, like you rightly said, my local politician or my local candidate is useless. I don't want to vote for him. The problem kya hai कि भाई मोदी को तो 400 पार मिलने ही वाला है, so he will win. See, I don't think that it works that way. I don't think it works that way. We are taking our voters too much for granted, and we are believing that our voters are dumb, and which they are not, which Indian voters proved. You see, the thing is, Modi's popularity was highest. There is no doubt about it. Rahul's popularity was not as good as what Modi's was. That also is correct. But the fact remains that the election was never about Rahul and Modi. The election was never about Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. It was never. It was for Narendra Modi or against Narendra Modi. Now, who are you comparing the popularity with? You compare the popularity with two competing brands, right? That is Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. You take Rahul Gandhi out of the picture because the match was never between Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi. It was for Narendra Modi or against Narendra Modi. Now, if you see the possibility of popularity of against Narendra Modi, or the possibility of people who wanted to see an alternative or who wanted to see Mr. Modi out, was more than the people who wanted to see Mr. Modi in. Now, if you look at it from that perspective, the voters voted by choice. And this vote is not a vote that just happened by mistake and all that, because again, I don't agree to that. The voter percentage in totality is not very low and all of that, Shubham. Voters percentage was not very low, that people sat at home and didn't go to vote and all that. It is more or less the average of what Indians, the way Indians vote. So the point that I'm trying to make is this narrative created, and this simplistic narrative created by possibly the same people who gave us that great those great exit polls and exit poll results, and strategists who gave us solid predictions with this happening 360 and TMC going down and BJP becoming number one in West Bengal and double figures in Tamil Nadu and all that. The same people created a narrative which was simplified version of the fact that theek hai, people thought that Modi to waise hi jeetega, isliye I didn't go and vote. I don't think consumer reaction or voters reaction or social behavior works that way. I don't think. If I want to vote in somebody, I vote in somebody. If I want to vote on somebody, I'll vote out somebody. If I'm indifferent, I'm indifferent. Period. It doesn't work. I don't think it works that way. My whatever understanding about social behavior doesn't accept that. That's my point of view. Shubham, let's talk about another point that Mr. Modi spoke about, and that is Manipur. Manipur was spoken about. I think there was a walkout in the middle. So let's talk about that.
Right. So Manipur has been an issue that's, mind you, the trouble in Manipur is far from over. May 2023 is when it began. It's been over 12 months. The chief minister is still the same. The prime minister is yet to visit Manipur. That saw violence, that saw lives being lost. The prime minister and the opposition has taken up, particularly after the incident that happened last year, where a video of women being paraded naked on the streets that really went viral on social media. It was after that the entire sort of opposition, civil, your activists, everyone got together demanding justice for Manipur. The chief minister, mind you, is from the Bharatiya Janata Party. He hasn't been changed. He's still very much there. So you could hear the opposition shouting slogans in favor of justice for Manipur. Some of the opposition leaders went into the well of the house, even as the prime minister continued his speeches, and slogans were chanted. I have written them here, right? Dictatorship won't be tolerated, and they demanded a discussion on Manipur. This is something that they did in the previous session of Parliament as well. The one thing that Prime Minister Modi did on the issue of Parliament, he first, when the horrific video went viral before the start of the Parliament last year, he gave a media bite where he said that he stands with the victims, he stands with Manipur, and after that, it was during the no confidence motion, if I'm not mistaken, that had come up. He spoke for 25-30 minutes, the first half. The opposition kept yelling, and then nothing really happened. He didn't speak about Manipur until the point when the opposition walked out. The moment the opposition walked out, he spoke about the issue of Manipur. So all said and done, that still remains a major pain point for the Bharatiya Janata Party and for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This is one conflict that is yet to be contained. A solution is yet to be found. Yes, Home Minister Amit Shah has visited Manipur. In fact, post June 4 as well, he had reports say that he had a series of meetings to take stock of the situation in New Delhi, where they sort of sat down to see how things are panning out. So that is an issue that seems that the opposition will take and will corner the government going forward. And one point before we move on, Parliament, the Lok Sabha functioned slightly past midnight yesterday, Sujit, and in the latter half, post 11:30 p.m., 12 p.m., which is almost the latter half where you barely have any MPs present, the Congress MP from Manipur, he stood up and he spoke, and in fact, my colleague Amina has done a story for our audience. You can go and check that on our channel today. There's a report out there. We spoke about an undeclared emergency and the fact that attention is still not being paid to Manipur. And that speech too has went viral because the way he spoke, he said, it's 12 a.m. here. I'm in New Delhi. Manipur is a couple of hours ahead of me. I don't know if that voice will reach, but the fact that this government hasn't done anything concrete to stop violence, to stop the bloodshed, to to sort of save lives and get the overall situation under control. So with regards to Manipur, that the Manipur MP's speech is something that really trended on social media the entire day today, because it was made late last night, and it was only this morning that speech of the Congress MP from Manipur went viral. And now you also had the opposition taking up that issue, and Prime Minister Modi had to pause for a second because the chaos really, while he was speaking today, and when slogans about Manipur were raised, you could see Mr. Modi taking a slight pause to see what is happening in front of them, because unlike last time when the MPs walked out and he had empty chairs and his own MPs to look at and speak about Manipur, this time he had to look at 234 MPs all coming at him from the word go. So that is something that going forward will still remain an issue among others. Manipur will still seems to be on top of the priority list as far as the opposition is concerned, and the fact that the issues that are there for the opposition to corner the government on, Sujit.
One more thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Shubham, is India is blessed with zero tolerance towards corruption. PM Modi hits out at scams, terrorism when Congress was in power. Now, this I find very strange. I'll tell you why I find strange. See, because what was electoral bonds, if not corruption? So, to say that there was no corruption, wouldn't that be a little too much? As in, yeah, no corruption in India. India corruption free. It's like saying India is defecation free, which is not. Proved it. So the point is, see, corruption does exist. Quantum also more or less the same. So the point that I'm trying to make is, how do we make such statements? How do we make such statements in Parliament where you are saying we are corruption free and there is no corruption, and all the corruption that happens is during Congress regime. Now, I'm digressing a little, but I still want to make a point, Shubham, if you permit me, and that is, you see, every time a airport fell, part of an entire part fell in T1, T9, right?
Yeah, Delhi T1, yes.
T1 collapsed. Now tell me, the response was, it was built by UPA, corrupt UPA government. It was built by Congress government, corrupt Congress government. And because of the corruption in Congress government, this entire thing collapsed. Two questions. Question number one is, the minister who actually helped build that was a gentleman called Praful Patel. Praful Patel, incidentally, is now with the NDA, the same government. And you know who took them? It is this Bharatiya Janata Party that invited him to be part of the government. You know what? He was also offered a Minister of State. He refused to take it, saying that, listen, I was union minister.
Demoted.
He rejected it. So, the corrupt minister who was or allegedly corrupt minister, because CBI gave him a clean chit. After, of course, he joined the NDA, CBI gave him a clean chit. Now, the allegedly corrupt minister now is with the NDA. So then, If CBI gave him a clean chit, he is with the NDA. How is the NDA saying that he was corrupt or there were corruptions? That's number one. Number two, the point is when a airport is built and when the airport is a new government takes over, the government has something called as maintenance and repairs. There's a budget for maintenance and repairs. What happened to that? What happened to that? What happened to the maintenance and repairs? Which means, are you going to say that any monument, any kings and Mughals or kings and queens would have built, you are going to say that it is their fault that it fell? What about the maintenance? Why was there no maintenance for the last 10 years? If there was maintenance, then why wasn't those guys, why didn't they flag off? Saying that there is going to be a problem, there's a crack, this is weak, this may fall. Why wasn't that said? So somewhere down the line, I think we're taking audience too lightly. We're taking the country too lightly. The answers that are normally provided to us are very light. It's not. I think we taken for granted. So that's the point I just wanted to make. Sorry, I digress from my point. So that's about corruption and things. Article 370 has been taken away people's rights in Jammu and Kashmir. PM spoke about that in Lok Sabha. So that was another point he made. NDA not only won the center but also 4 states, which is factually correct. NDA not only won the center but it also won 4 states. What he's talking about is Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and which one? I forget.
Odisha is one. Odisha is
Odisha, correct. Yeah. Yes, I'm so sorry, Odisha. Good. So that's a very correct statement he made. And so, okay, I have some questions. Will I just want to?
Yes.
I just want
so
to
I think Mayank. Yes. After this question, I think we can take up. Mayank had a question for me. I couldn't read that part while I was explaining. So after this question, if we can take that up, I'll answer that as well.
Oh yeah, I can. But that question, but I will ask. I'll tell you that question here. Yeah. Ashok Nelson asks me whether Mr. Sujit, I remember you saying that Bharat Jodo Yatra was not up to the mark. Message was not correct, but your advertisement experience, are you still in this? Messaging was not correct. Your advertising experience, are you still in the same point? 100% I am in the same point. Ashok, 150% I am in the same point. I will tell you what I said and I will repeat what I said. What I said is Bharat Jodo Yatra will definitely ensure that Rahul Gandhi's image changes drastically. That is what I said. I still am on the same point. I said Bharat Jodo Yatra will ensure that Rahul Gandhi will be taken as a serious leader in this country. The Pappu image will change. I said it then. I say it now. I still say it and say it absolutely clearly. I said that Bharat Jodo Yatra may not necessarily help Congress get seats, increase seats drastically. I say that even today. Congress has got 99 seats. So the fact remains that imagery-wise, charisma-wise, Rahul Gandhi has reached the next level. But the number of seats that I would expect Congress to get through such a large exercise, through such a large, as we call it in advertising, activation, they didn't get. Possibly because it didn't translate into seats. That's the point I made then, and I still maintain that point even today and even now. So that's the point. Now, I hope, Ashok, I've answered your question and you're satisfied with my answer. Now, the point is, the other question that was asked to you, Shubham, is that whether parliamentary, which I think the question is the answer is no, because what he wanted to know is whether you spend money when a MP attends a parliament, and for the MP to attend a parliament, in a way, yes, of course, you spend money because his travel, his stay, and all that. But I don't think it's massively. MP. Definitely, there's a budget for an MP, but whether if he spends X amount of hours, the money doesn't go. If he doesn't spend X amount of hours, the money doesn't go less and all that. वो नहीं होता है, is what I understood from what his question was. Rahul Gandhi, if he continues like this, he will press the Brahmastra button. I don't know about that, but Rahul Gandhi did well yesterday for sure. That is what I will be saying. Now,
I think
to
it's
conclude, I think Shubham, we've shot more than an hour.
yes,
To conclude,
yes.
let's talk about the final. What was your final opinion on how it all went between yesterday and today?
Um, Stormy start is what we saw, and expect this stormy start to this tone and tenor to go on as Parliament. This Parliament continues, because you'll have the special session ending and you'll have the monsoon session. An extremely impactful, courageous start by the opposition. This was the first chance they had to prove, flex their muscles, show their strengths, and really put the BJP, the NDA, the Treasury benches on the back foot. And given the speeches that we've seen and the confidence I talked about right at the beginning, that was something that will really stick by as we go on. As for Mr. Modi, I think the speech that he gave today was the fact that he's almost decided that this is he will continue the way in which he operated. He'll continue to take up the issues, because actually the corruption bit you talked about, Rahul targeting Rahul Gandhi, this is something that's been going on. These have been recurring themes of the NDA. So expect that to continue. The Prime Minister has decided that he will be taking them head on. And yes, while you could, especially post the 4th of June, you've been seeing the Prime Minister's body language and the fact that things don't quite look the same. So expect that as well, to keep observing that, keep an eye for that, see how the Prime Minister reacts, how the NDA, the BJP function in Parliament. That's takeaway number 2. So the Prime Minister's bit has also been mentioned, that while he, of course, some of his trademarks were still there, the jibes at Rahul Gandhi and some of the terms that he used to describe him, the sarcastic remarks, the jokes, the Modi chants, and the way he sort of tried pushing pushing, or rather re-exhibiting his image as somebody who's larger than life, who makes grand statements, and he has an aura. So that still remained intact. I think that's something that the BJP will ensure that still remains, and the fact that they do not concede any space to the opposition. Because my final remark would be this: that while you expect this stormy session of Parliament to continue, expect this acrimony to only get bitter going forward. You'll have the budget coming up, the full budget that will come up in the next monsoon session, which is just a few days away. So I think off to a very interesting start, a stormy, interesting, heated, whichever way you put it. We're off to a very interesting start for us journalists. It's what you hope for. You have a very heated Parliament where you have facts being thrown by both sides, and but having said that, the interruptions will be something that one will also note, because the productivity of the Lok Sabha itself has been under scrutiny, and how actually impactful or how much work has transpired. So a lot of eyes to keep on, but I would say a very interesting start to the Parliament post the verdict of 2024. And since we have this conversation about Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Mr. Modi, I'll just quote Sujit before we end this conversation, is that, every time, this is something that he had said in his editorial, every time Rahul Gandhi scores, when he gets up in Parliament, when he gets up in the Lok Sabha, and every time he scores, his appeal, amongst the people, that ratios will start slowly going up, much to the dismay of the Bharatiya Janata Party. But on the contrary, I think, Sujit, you said this even before I joined, that every time Mr. Modi scores one over Rahul, that would bring down Mr. Gandhi's speech. So if one, I would ask you, Sujit, I'll put you on the spot and I'll ask you who think won this first battle, the first round that we saw in Lok Sabha. I would say it's 1-1. Because you the way the issues were raised and the way speeches were.
I think Rahul Gandhi scored, but I think Modi did well today. So today, I think we should see it as the beginning of this match. But believe me, we'll end this as like a cricket match. This is going to be a very, very interesting house now. This house is going to be absolutely interesting. You can see, you should, whenever the house is in session, you should be keeping everything aside and focusing on the house, focus on what's going to happen, focus on how things are going to be. This is going to be a very, very interesting house, and lots of things are going to happen in this house. Lots of things between the opposition and the government. A lot of discussion, a lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting action is going to happen. Let's keep, like Shubham, you rightly said, let's keep our eyes and ears open on this. And in that note, I think let's take the leave from our
Absolutely.
audience. And thank you so much for watching us. And we've almost done a show, 1 hour show. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this long show. Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Shubham, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, my audience. Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.